Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Java with Jen and Jess. I am Jennifer Fernandez, branch manager and realtor of the Property Pros Real Estate.
And I am Jessica Sherrill, senior mortgage loan officer at Freedom Mortgage. And we are here with Java with Jen and Jess, where we bring the community together and we keep it real in real estate. So we're excited about this show, right, Jen?
Yes, for sure. Today's topic is about podcasting. Podcasting is a fantastic way to expand your brand, showcase your uniqueness, attract your target customers. But is it right for you? On today's show, we'll be talking to Stephen Placey. He's president of Rock Your Business, and he's going to help us determine if podcasting is good for you and your business, and if so, how to get started. But first, let's get into our small business spotlight this week.
I'm sorry. For anybody out there that loves donuts, hold on. It is amazing, okay? I'm at Simply Done Donuts, and we are located they're located in South Tampa. And they also have a location in Duluth, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta, my hometown. But I have to tell you that we had to spotlight at these locations so I could have donuts with my coffee this morning, and it is so incredible. I mean, when you bite into a donut and it's a fried donut, it's like another experience. I'm just, and they have flavors like man bait with bacon, maple syrup, fruity pebbles, Rice Krispie treats with marshmallow drizzle. I mean, when you talk about a donut, this is the place. This is where you get a donut. What I love about this place is not only the most delicious donuts you've ever had. However, they also have where they use, they actually brew fresh coffee, and it's through 3 Tree Coffee Roasters, and a portion of these proceeds goes to helping human trafficking. And so, they just really, really represent an amazing local business here. And I don't know if you guys are anywhere near like loving or liking donuts, you have to come to Simply Done Donuts. I'm just saying, it's amazing. So I had to come and kind of spotlight this wonderful place, and I wanted to talk to the owner, but because their donuts are so great, they've got a line out the door. It's crazy. So anyway, that's my spiel for today.
Well, I'm excited. I know you definitely have made me intrigued, and I think I'm going to cheat on the diet that I go on every week and have myself a fried donut this weekend.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Where are they located?
By the dozens. So
where are they located?
South Dale Mabry, 2109 South Dale Mabry, right across the street from Plant High School. And they can do events. They can cater events. I mean, they do it all. So great. Come on down and visit, because you will not be disappointed.
Love it. Love it. Thanks. Well, now we are going to get into the show, and we are going to bring on Stephen Placey with Rock Your Business. Good morning, Stephen. Thanks for being on with us.
Hey, good morning. How are you guys doing today?
Hungry
I'm doing great. I'm doing wonderful.
We're eating donuts. We're drinking some coffee. We're having some fun.
As she eats in front of us.
It's all good.
Stephen, welcome. Thank you so much for being on with us today. Podcasting is something that is intriguing to both Jess and I, and we're really thankful that you were able to be here with us. So let's go ahead and start off by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born in 19. No, I'm just kidding. So, we like to have fun around here. So, hi everyone. Hello. My name is Stephen Placey, and I am 20 plus years business innovation, branding, and business development. I also own a company called Rock Your Business. So we are people that help people get more customers. We help people build revenue in their companies. We've built our own company to be very successful. We help other people do the same. We've built 35,000 customers and contacts over the past 20 years. So that's a little bit about me. It's what we do.
Awesome. So tell me about prior to Rock Your Business.
Grew up, actually funny, over here. I actually live in Melbourne. Office is right across the street from the beach. But grew up in a small business. My parents actually owned a fence company over here in Melbourne, Florida called American Fence Company. which is still around. They sold it many, many years ago. But they built that, and I grew up and learned a lot from them running that small business. In fact, and then what I did is I started helping them develop products. I helped them start building the business. By 16 years old, they were taking vacations, and I would be running the business for them, and profits would go up. So, they started taking more vacations. So entrepreneurship came very early in that, and then did a little stint in corporate America where I went from a starting job really to running about $20 million in business for them a year in about a year and a half. So through the same principles, just doing a good job, building communication, getting people together, building revenue. So, and then figured out, man, I can make a lot more money doing this on my own than for somebody else, right? The typical entrepreneur, here's what we do. And then started doing it. And it's been just a great ride. We've helped thousands and thousands of people build more revenue, get more customers, expand their reach, and much more.
So how did you get into the podcasting division, if you will, of your business?
Well, we created this program called Echo. So when Echo stands for, let me step back. We believe people need to do personal branding. Whether you are an individual, you're a realtor, you're kind of your own boss, or if you own a company, people buy people, right? So, and that's 100% of the time. So personal branding, no matter what size company you are, is something you must do. Again, people buy people, not companies. Even look at Apple right now. Are they the same company without Steve Jobs? They're not. The products aren't the same. But so personal branding is huge. So we created something called Echo. E is expand your reach. C is create community. H is help others. And then O, you have offers, because people are going to want your help. So you have offers to be able to help them. Okay. So if you look at how you expand your reach right now, one of the biggest things people always come to me and say, well, how do I separate myself from the competition? Mm-hmm. Well, the answer is always you. See, there's only one you. So that is your biggest advantage to separate yourself. So you have all this knowledge, you have an attitude, you have your personality. Again, if people buy people, then we need to show that knowledge and show that personality. So how do we do that? Well, podcasting helps you get knowledge out of your noggin and out for the world to listen to. And they can hear your attitude. They can hear the inflection in your voice. They can hear things They can hear sincerity. And then you're also giving them great stuff to help them build their business or, cure pains in their life or cause pleasures in their life or business. The two reasons why people buy anything: cures pain, causes pleasure. So if you can help them do one or the other or both, fantastic. People will love you, people will follow you, and they'll be more apt to buy your stuff. Podcasting is one of the greatest long form contents right now that people are digesting in huge fashion. Okay. It's if you clicked on a video, Jen or Jess, and if you saw a video and you saw it was 20 minutes, do you watch it? Do you watch the video if it's 20 minutes?
Probably not.
Probably not. But people are listening to podcasts that are 20, 30, 40 minutes to an hour because they can pop the earbuds in their ear and then go do something else. And that knowledge is just sinking into their noggin. So podcasts are the best long form content out there that people are digesting in massive forms.
That's fascinating. And I've actually noticed that I listen to a lot more podcasts now. I mean, once you get started, it becomes addicting almost.
It does.
So getting started in podcasting, what is the first step?
Well, the first step is with podcasting or any other marketing that you're doing is the first thing we do is help people build their avatar. And what that is that's a buyer persona. That is a snapshot of who your best customer is. All right. Because we have a saying, if you're for everybody, you're for nobody. All right. People's attention is hyper distracted these days. We all have ADD, HDD. I would have been diagnosed with all of them. Okay. So, because literally I've been doing a talk before and a squirrel ran by a window that I could only see out. and I actually stopped and looked at the squirrel. Okay. Like it literally does happen. Okay. So everybody's hyper distracted. And so we help you define your avatar. We give this person, we have an actual worksheet that we walk you through, a system that we walk you through, and help you define who is the person you want to reach, who is the best customer. Because if people are distracted, if you're not talking to those people, if you're not giving, let's say we even give your avatar a name. One of ours is named Stan. And if Stan's not going to respond to what we're putting out there as marketing, then why do it? If Stan's who we want to reach and it's not curing pains in his life or business or causing pleasure in his life or business, he won't respond. So if we're not talking, if our podcast is not giving him solutions or giving to do one or the other or both, he's not going to listen to it. So the first step is figuring out who your avatar is so you can build your content around those people.
Okay. So when getting started in a new business, obviously cost is very important to a new business owner. Is podcasting something that's inexpensive to get started doing?
Well, yeah, I mean, there can be. There's lots of courses out there you can take to do it. One of the biggest questions we get asked is, what kind of equipment do I need to go buy? Rode microphones and all these big microphones and stuff like this. And, here's the microphone we use for podcasting. It's the, I don't make any money off of it. It's a Blue Yeti microphone. They're $100 to $150 tops. Great microphone. You have a computer, obviously, if you're watching this, or something, right? You have some kind of device. And the software that you can use to actually record the podcast can be free. Audacity is a great software that you can use to record podcasts. In fact, if you own a Windows computer, Windows has a pretty good sound recorder inside Windows. So those three pieces are three major pieces you need. So we got, a computer you already have, a microphone that you should have anyway if you're doing Zoom calls or stuff like this, and you can get going. Really. So if there's editing software you want to get some advanced editing software like a Premiere Pro or something like this, you can get $20 a month subscriptions to things like that.
Okay.
That's really, really good information as far as, because, when I was thinking about podcasting, I was like, man, it's probably really expensive to get started. Did you think that too, Jen?
I envisioned this whole studio, with the foam on the walls and the big microphones and, 7 different screens. Yeah. So that's kind of what I envisioned. Yeah. So it's good to know that. You
can spend thousands of dollars if you want, but let me tell you, it's about being lean and mean these days. And you can do a lot with that little microphone right there, the computer that you have, and go get yourself more customers. And then if you want to upgrade, great.
So question to piggyback off that, what are some things to consider, before you start a podcast? What's kind of a checklist that someone should ask themselves before they start a podcast?
So one of the things is committed. How committed are you to growing your business? Because you can't do one podcast, just like with anything. You can't do one video. You can't do one podcast. You don't follow up with people just one time. It takes several times to do it. So, we've had people that have started podcasts that their first episode got 10 listens. We've had, and in the first week, they only got, 15, 20 listens. Okay. And they got, depressed. And I'm like, keep going. All right. We've had people that have a 300 in the first week, so it just depends. So the results will vary. The key is we all know content needs to be made. If you want to separate yourself, you have to make content. So this is the best content you can be making right now. Again, you can get your podcast on Apple Podcast. You can get your podcast on Google. You can get your podcast. I've had people, I'm no superstar. I've had people on every continent in this world listen to my podcast. That's Crazy, right? Like people in Australia are listening to our podcast. You know, how else are you going to do that? How else are you going to do that? So you have to be committed. You can record 5 episodes in a day and then drip them out 1 a week. But you have to be committed just like anything else. So if you're not committed, I actually had someone, we've told just as many people they should make podcasts because they weren't committed or other things, then as people we've told they would be good for. Because I had a lady ask me earlier this week, and I told her all these great plans, how we can do it. She's like, well, that sounds like a lot of work. I don't know if I want to work that hard. I said, then there, you just talked yourself right out of it, and I agree with you. So, you know, it's a matter of commitment. But I will tell you, again, if you're going to be making content, this is the best content you can be making right now.
So you mentioned you've had, you know, some with 10 listeners and a show with 15 listeners. How do you advertise for your listeners? How can someone, what's the best way to reach out and grab an audience and grow your following?
So it's sharing sharing your content. We know social media is a great way to share your content. Okay. So one thing we do with our clients is we actually created a network called the Rock Your Business Network. Rock Your Business Podcast Network. And we put our people that have created shows on there. Not all of them. Some of them didn't want their shows on there, but for many of them, they want their shows on there. And we send it out. We send also emails out to our 35,000 contacts and say, hey, here's some great new podcasts. We highlight some of the podcasts. So if you can be part of a network like that, that's a great way to get a lot of listeners quickly. You can also, you know, find people. Influencer marketing is very good. If you can, so there's a couple of great things here. So let's say I know an influencer that has a lot of contacts, right? Has a big following. Well, could they add value to my podcast? Could they come on? Could I interview them and add value to my people? You know, which add value to our podcast, and it helps my avatars, the people I want to reach, and it'll also help theirs. Well, ask if you can interview them, because what are they going to do? They're going to share it with their people. So, which multiplies. I mean, this is the same thing with any content that you make, but now you're saying, hey, can I interview you? And they're going to share it with their people as well. You can post it on LinkedIn groups. You can post it on Facebook groups. You can post it all over the place and get exposure for your people, and make sure you get listed on Apple Podcasts where people can find it.
So are you going to share this with your 35,000 people?
I already shared it on my Facebook page. I already went through, like you guys were doing the intro. I said, hey, come on, check this out right here. So, you know, come check it out live. So we could have people that are watching it on my Facebook page now. And we got on my personal page, I got almost 5,000 friends. So
awesome. Definitely to grow. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
so who knows?
Yeah, no, that's me and, you know, Jen and I, we're going big, right, Jen? So, I mean, I'm just saying. So I have a question in regards to the audience, you know, your listeners and stuff. How many shows? I know you said you could do like 5 shows at one time and just, you know, disperse them out as you want. But how many shows should you be, I guess, you know, getting out there on a weekly basis? You know what I mean? Is it like to keep your audience engaged?
Well, I mean, at least one. You know, I don't think, you know, if you want to do 2, see, it's not how many you should do. So let's say at least 1. But understand, see, there's a big difference. We're very different than a lot of firms people may work with. We're all about results. Okay. There's a difference between just doing stuff and then getting results with it. There's a lot of people that will do social media, but they don't get any results. They may have 10,000 fans, but they have no customers. To me, that's a waste of time. Okay. So if you're not, I'd rather have you have 50 fans that love you, that you're getting business from, than 7,000 fans that don't care about you. Okay. And you're not getting business from. So it's all about conversion to us. So do your customers have pertinent things that happen throughout the week? Is there a news article that comes out? Is there a development? Did the rates drop? Did something happen that you could do a short little podcast about and just tell your people how this is going to be affecting them? So you can do that. Not every podcast needs to be 15, 20 minutes. I've done several that, an article came out and I just wanted to say, here's how this is going to affect you. And it was like a 5-6 minute podcast. Okay. So one a week, but then if something comes up that's like, man, I just had to jump on and share this with you guys, then that's good stuff,
Right.
and be there for your people. And then they're going to rely on you and they're going to be looking for you. So does that answer your question?
No, that's good feedback, especially when I think what it comes down to is like knowing your customer, right? Knowing when they might be, looking for new information from you and finding out what that demographic looks like as far as when they might be logged into the podcast or when they can listen to it. Feedback. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about knowing your customer. Again, with any marketing that you're doing, if you're not talking to your avatar, who cares?
So what are some tips for making your podcast stand out? So me in particular, I'm a real estate agent. I'm sure there's probably, a couple thousand real estate agents that have done podcasts. What are some ways to make yours stand out from the rest?
Well, and man, I'm gonna dive into some secrets here. Okay. So have you ever heard of marketing without marketing?
Yeah.
So let me say this real quick. Everything, your podcast doesn't have to be about real estate. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not how you build a following, it's that you build a following. Let me say that one more time. It's not how you build a following, it's that you build a following. Okay. Because if people buy into you, if they like you, and you both have amazing personalities. Okay. Like first time I saw me and Jessica were in this little mastermind group together. We're sitting across from each other like, oh yeah, we need to connect. We got each other right here, Right. So it's people, if people like you, they'll follow you. And then what they also see is they see, wow, she has a great personality. She's a good person. There's something called the halo effect that anything, if they like you and they believe and trust you, anything else you do or sell is probably also good. Okay. It's why people use like LeBron James for, selling shoes and selling anything, that's why they do that, because they love LeBron James. So anything he's promoting must also be awesome. Okay.
Right.
So what do you love to do? We have a gentleman that he owns a property and casualty insurance company. And he also, he wanted to start a podcast. I don't know about you, but I'm not listening to an insurance podcast. There's probably a few sick people in the world that would listen to it, but most people will not, and I'm just kidding about the sick person part. Okay. But he also had 30 years in the restaurant industry with a big company here in Central Florida. So I said, how about starting a podcast about the restaurant industry? And he's like, well, how does that help me sell insurance? I said, well, aren't restaurant owners really good people, really good leads for you? Because restaurants have a lot of insurance needs. Okay. I said, so he started building a podcast and he started talking to restaurant owners with tips on using his past 30 years experience about how to handle customer complaints, how to, keep your food costs low, how to bring more people in the doors, running restaurant stuff. And so he started that podcast, and he even created a Facebook group, which we highly recommend, that's tied to the podcast, where people can land because you're building community. Okay. And he started doing podcasts and dropping them in there. People started joining the community. And then, of course, he's going to do a podcast about, well, there's insurance needs for restaurants, right? And also in his podcast, we created a commercial that talked about the insurance company. So this podcast, in the middle of the podcast, it breaks into a little 10-second commercial. This podcast is brought to you by blank. So he's building a following with something that's not insurance related, talking to his avatar he's building a following, and then people are like, wow, they also hear he does insurance, and since they like him, then anything else he does is awesome. So literally, you could start a podcast about cooking Italian food. You could start a podcast about living your best life. I have another lady that sells Aflac and stuff like this. We're helping build a podcast. And again, no one's going to listen to an Aflac podcast. Nothing against Aflac. But no one's going to listen to that. But she's an amazing person. Super high energy, she smiles all the time. Anytime you're around her, you have to be happy. So we're starting a podcast about living your best life, where she's going to be talking about that. She's going to be interviewing people about living your best life and handling work-life balance and all these things. And she'll build a following that people will love her. So we'll cross it over to the insurance side when ready. So that's one way to separate yourself. Stop thinking that you have to do it about real estate. Do it about something that you love, something you can talk about, because you don't have to be a 30-year expert in it to talk about it. You just need to be 10 minutes ahead of somebody else to show them what you just did. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, that was great information. And I feel that really spoke to me personally, because I mean, lending isn't sexy, you know what I'm saying? Like, to me anyway.
Right.
So finding out that you can step outside and do something that you really, really love and talk about that, and then draw people into, your business that way is a great idea. And I love that. I love that approach. Something you said, you were talking about the commercial part.
Yeah.
I've listened to many podcasts lately. Like I said, I'm mildly addicted to a few. And I noticed that, a few of them grab you immediately when you're listening to the podcast, through their music that they use in the background, to what they're saying, their little intro, right?
Yeah.
So what are some things that, you offer, or you mentioned to potential podcasters, to think about when they're trying to come up with their intro, right? The music, how long does it have to be, and what would grab someone in 30 seconds?
Well, in a couple cool things is you should have a little intro bit. People need to know what this podcast is about very quickly. Remember, you still only have their attention for a few seconds. So
Right.
You need to maybe put a little preview second. So maybe you grab a little super cool line, like one of your isms. I call those. We all have these isms. Like one of my great friends and mentors, Mitch, one of his isms is he always says, hire slow, fire fast. That's a Mitchism. Okay. And I call them Mitchisms. And so, one of my I'm thinking, I just blew my own mind. I was like, okay, what are some of my isms? I'm thinking of everybody else's isms. So, you be you because you was awesome. That's something I say all the time. People chuckle about, And so you could grab one of those isms out of what you say during the podcast, or like take 10, 15 seconds out of the podcast where you're making a really great point and put it at the very front. Okay. And so it grabs people's attention, like, wow, I really want to hear what he said about that. Or how he gets there, or how she or whoever gets there. And then have your little intro and make the music about you. You listen to my podcast, it's heavy guitar riffs. Why? I'm a heavy metal junkie. Okay. So, that's what I do. My company's called Rock Your Business. It's our brand. It's who we are. So you set that tone right there. So you have a little preview, you set the tone with a good intro, very short. I stopped listening to some podcasts because the first thing they had was an ad, because their podcast was sponsored by somebody else. So they put an ad at the front. I stopped listening to it. So don't do that, So little intro like that about who you are, what you do, but mainly remember, just like again with all marketing, it's not about you. It's about what I can do for you. Okay. Whenever I do talks all the time and I stand up in front of them and I'm like, what I don't have is 7,000 slides, because my whole job, just like on here today, and I appreciate you guys having me on here, it ain't about me. It's about how can I help you, Jess, you, Jen, or you listening? What can I give you that can help you go get more customers today? It ain't about me. So think about that when you're doing your podcast. What can you say in those first few seconds that can just make people say, wow, I need to listen to that, and make it all about them? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's awesome.
You mentioned about the ad in the beginning of a podcast.
Yeah.
Can you make money podcasting?
Sure.
Aside from growing your own business, can you make money in podcasting itself?
Sure. So, there's really 2 or 3 different ways. I might even mention 4, but a couple of different ways you can grow your business using podcasts. Okay. How you can get business out of it. Sure. You can have people sponsor podcasts. In fact, I have people right now that will sponsor podcasts. In our network, I get contacted by our people saying, if they reach this demographic, I want to sponsor their podcast. So you can have sponsors for sure. Okay. Now, is it going to be $9,000 a month? No, you get to Joe Rogan size and stuff like this, millions of people, but that's not going to happen for everybody, right? So you can have sponsors, but understand that the 2 biggest ways you can build your business and make money with the podcast, and I thought when we started our podcast, I'm like, oh, people are going to listen. They're going to love what we have to say, and they're going to do business with us, right? So that does happen. But the number one thing that I didn't even think about when we started our podcast was how killer it was to open doors. Let me explain that real quick. So, is there a company that you've been wanting to build as a referral source, but you haven't been able to get that person on the phone you need to talk to? Is there a company that you just think is really cool that would be great to do business with? We have a great beer company over here that we did a podcast with. We've done a couple of them. And so we said, hey, come on to our podcast and tell us your story, how you got started. So
we lost your audio. There you are.
I think I hit. Hold on. Sorry, hold on.
You're on mute, Stephen. But you're on mute. You gotta unmute yourself. I don't think. Oh, I can. There we go. And now it won't let me unmute you. Well, Jess, while he's figuring this out, how's it looking over there with Simply Done Donuts? Are they still busy?
It's died down a little bit. I could actually, at the end, I'd love to kind of introduce her.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
There we go. How's that?
There we go.
Hey, you're back.
You ain't got to be a techie guy to do stuff. Sorry. I apologize about that.
That's
No
okay.
worries.
So I don't remember where I was. I think I was talking, how to get business. So we were talking about how to open new doors with these podcasts. So I think I was talking about the beer companies. So
Yes.
we've interviewed a couple beer companies locally here, and I had them on. I literally took my phone, sitting on my couch at night, and I instant messaged them. I said, hey, it'd be killer to be able to for you to come on our podcast and tell your story. So they came down, did that, and then I looked at them. I said, you guys should start a podcast. And so we're helping them start a podcast, because we came up with some great ideas. So they don't go to networking events. They don't do these things, but being able to reach out to someone that you want to become as a customer or as a referral partner and saying, hey, would you mind coming on my podcast? Because I'd love to hear your story. That's a door opener like crazy, because people will do that. I mean, I can tell you handfuls of people sitting on my phone at night. I saw an interesting person maybe post something. I instant message them, say, hey, would you like to be on our podcast? And then within a couple of weeks, they're becoming customers. Because think about this. I instant message them and I say, hey, would you like to be on our podcast? They're like, sure. Well, we have to do a phone call to talk about the podcast first. So I got them on the phone. And of course, we're going to start talking about, well, hey, what do you do? Well, what do you do? And then we start talking and they're like, wow, you do a lot of stuff. Maybe we should talk more. Great. So it's a huge door opener to be able to get customers.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So let me ask you, I know you kind of went over the best podcast platform. Tell me, you mentioned a couple. Can you kind of delve into the couple that you mentioned as far as?
Yeah, and I so apologize about the microphone going out. It's so funny, but you know but it's Friday. Maybe my microphone's like, hell, let's go fishing. Enough of this. So you know what I mean. So
it's already at the beach.
Yeah, it's right there. It's right there. It's looking at the beach, right? So so platforms. All right. So we use something called Buzzsprout, and Buzzsprout is a great home for your podcast. Let's say it's a distribution network as well. So you record your podcast, you edit it, you upload it to Buzzsprout, and Buzzsprout helps you create a little website. For I think the accounts, you can have a free account, or it's like $9 or $10, $12 a month. And for a paid for account, you can upload like 3 to 4 hours a month in podcasts to it at that rate. But it creates a little website for you that you can customize the color. You can put a little logo in there, and it can be a home where all your podcasts live. Now, what it also does, it's the distribution channel to get you on Apple Podcasts. It's a distribution channel to get you on Stitcher and all the major places where people listen to podcasts. So you upload it to Buzzsprout, and it sends it to all those places. Beautiful, right? But also it gives you the little script where you can embed your podcast in your website.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So which is killer, because where do I want people really listening to my podcast? Well, on my website, because they're on my website. So,
Right.
So that's one platform that we use. Now there's things out there, Anchor. And if I say, hey, I love Buzzsprout on Facebook, there'll be other people that say, well, they suck and I like Anchor better. Well, great. Then use the one, whatever you want. I don't care, but that's the one we use. It works great for us. It's simple, easy to use.
It's excellent.
Let's kind of summarize a little bit of what we've talked about already today. And how can someone determine if podcasting is right for them?
Well, it really, the best way to do it is we do a lot of these little mastermind sessions just like this. Well, we'll grab, 7 or 8. We've had up to 12 people on them at one time. And we do just a little brainstorming session to determine if it's good for them or not, because we go through, well, who is your avatar? Who is that? Who are you trying to reach? Well, are those people listening to podcasts? Well, the answer to that is yes, because, we have demographics that show that, I have them right here, 50% of all U.S. households are listening to podcasts, 54% male, 46% female, age of listeners, 12 to 24 is 40%, 25 to 54 is 39%, 55 plus is 17%, and that's probably one of the fastest growing demographics. So people of all ages and backgrounds and demographics are listening to podcasts. Just ask your friends if they are. And so it really depends on who you want to reach and are you committed to doing it? Mm-hmm. And again, if you're not committed to doing it, then you're probably not committed to posting on social media. You're probably not committed to following up with people anyway. So it's not going to be right for you. Right?
No, that's great. That's great feedback. And so anyone listening right now or that watches this show after it's been recorded, how can they find Rock Your Business? What's the easiest way someone can get into podcasting or, trying to discover their brand? Where would you send them first?
Okay. So here's what I would do is if you're interested, if you're watching this and you want to just maybe do a little mastermind session, or join one of our future sessions where we just bring people in for free and say, hey, let's think about this. What I would do is text the word podcast to 407-758-5375. Okay. Text podcast to 407-758-5375. And we'll get back to you and say, okay, here's when we're having the next one of those sessions, and we'll schedule time to see if it is right for you. Free of charge. Trust me, there are no sales pitches to it. We're super honest, just like you may hear here. We're very honest with people and say, hey, we think it could work for you, or hey, it's not right for you. Okay? So that would probably be my first step. You can also go to RYB Inc., rybinc.com, and that's our website.
Awesome. Well, I've learned so much about podcasting. How about you, Jen?
For sure. I'm kind of thinking maybe we can flip this show into a podcast.
It's possible. We have a lot of people that want to be on YouTube as well. Then videotape yourself or video.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I'm aging myself. Okay, video yourself, right? And video yourself doing your podcast. Now you have a YouTube video, and in fact, you can now take that podcast and then you can also. There's companies out there for 25 cents a minute that will turn it into text for you. And so
nice.
You can create, for 25 cents a minute. So for a 20-minute podcast, you're talking $5, okay? And they'll turn it into text for you, dictate it for you, and now you have a blog post. So with
nice.
one thing, you have a YouTube video, you have a podcast, and a blog post all at one time.
Touching everybody.
Right.
I love that. Well, I'm getting into podcast because I'm realizing you don't have to worry about the camera angles. The hair can look good at once. Don't worry about the makeup.
Yeah, we could do it in our PJs. That's amazing.
Exactly. Just literally roll out of bed and start talking.
This is what I'm saying, right? I have to get up to make sure I don't have to do my hair anymore.
That is awesome.
Stephen, you have been amazing. It's great information for sure. We really appreciate you being on with us today. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys. I mean, whatever. I appreciate you guys having me on me. I really do. And I wish you listening the best, and Jen and everybody. I mean, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We hope you have a fabulous weekend.
Hey,
Yes,
thank you. All right, heading to the beach. See ya.
See ya. Oh, that was awesome. Good information. That was a good topic. I learned
it's not as hard. Yeah, and it's not as hard as you would think, right? I think this is you just have to be determined, committed, and
with anything. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur and you're already getting your business started, you should already be committed. So it should come easy to you. So that was great information. I'm definitely interested in reaching back out to Stephen, later on and getting some more tips and possibly getting started in something like that.
Yeah, I mean, get talking, right?
It's a good one to learn from.
Yeah. I love it. Well, I would love to have Susie here, but I think she's still busy working she's still frying dough in the back.
She's still frying dough. Hey, that's okay. Well, based on what I've learned from you, I'm definitely going to take a pit stop over there and get myself a fried donut.
Yeah, get your donuts. It'll change your life.
For sure. Well, thank you everyone who has watched the show this week. We will not be on next week due to the holiday. So we want to go ahead and wish everybody not only a great weekend this weekend, but have a safe and happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th.
And we will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Bye.
Bye.